Hello there. We've been trying to reach you concerning your vehicle's extended warranty. You should have received a notice in the mail about your car's extended warranty eligibility. Since we've not gotten a response, we've given you a final courtesy call before we close out your file. Press 2 to be removed from the list and placed on a do not call list. To speak to someone about possibly extending or reinstating your vehicle's warranty, press 1 to speak to a warranty specialist.
This is Crashed While Loading, the fusion of entertainment and information.
Hello there.
Weekly updates and opinions on video games,
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
movies,
I'm about to do to you what Limp Bizkit did to music in the late 90s.
TV shows,
This is the way.
This is the way.
and so much more.
TJ, what do you want to do tonight?
Off. We need to go on a quick adventure.
Hello, as you watch me screw with my microphone boom mic that I tried to put a new position and I just realized it's directly in place of my face in the camera. Hello. Playing peekaboo with the damn thing all day. Oh well, I'm gonna have to find something out. I'm gonna have to get a different one. I tried putting it over there. It didn't work. And I don't know, since I redid stuff, things haven't sounded quite right to me. And it's driving me crazy. And then you could hear tip, tip, tap, 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 deep, deep, tappity. If I click on anything, let's see if it still works. Yeah, I hear it a little bit. So anyway, probably something that drives me more crazy than anybody else. But like most things, I'm my own worst enemy. So welcome to Crash While Loading, episode 47. I am your host, Ashen Phoenix. And sorry I took last week off because... And I've been doing that more recently, not because I don't want to do this, but because things keep coming up and taking up a lot of time, which is why we're doing this now at 3 instead of my usual trying to do it at 6 consistently, because we're also going to watch Malignant tonight, which we'll review next week, which is, I forget, something when. The guy that did, like, The Conjuring and all that. See, now the boom mic is actually in my face, which is great, because I probably sound all right. But now it's also in the way of me reading stuff, and that's annoying. But now that I moved this, the boom mic is directly in my face again. Didn't think this one through. Let's see if I move it here. It's definitely in the way. Yeah, you know what? You're just gonna have to not see me, which is probably more of a favor to you than anything. But anyway, yeah, so we're going to watch Malignant with the wife and hopefully our son tonight, if he comes down from the bat cave. That is his upstairs room. And if you want to listen to this live, because you're listening to it on the podcast after the fact, and just randomly don't know when to listen to it live, you can go to twitch.tv/crashedwhile-loading, go to the About section, join the Discord that's under there, also subscribe on the Twitch thing. There's also a YouTube, which you'll just have to Google or like search in YouTube, Crashed While Loading. It's fairly simple to do. It's spelled exactly how it sounds as long as you pass the 5th grade. Which I'm not assuming you don't. I don't assume grades. I know we're not supposed to assume genders, but I also don't assume intelligence in grades because I would prefer people not do that to me as they try to look at me past this giant boom mic in my face. Yeah, this arm is, anyway. So anyway, I got a lot of stuff for you. First off, I had a thought this week. I probably should have done as Ron White says, and next time you have a thought, let it go. Probably should have done that. But I was talking with a friend, and, I've mentioned casually that, what if alien visits are just alien billionaires cruising into space and visiting our planet? And that's, kind of like our billionaires do, going up into space temporarily and coming back down. And then I thought, on a broader scope, I have a feeling if there is a vast, intergalactic alliance of alien beings and stuff that can travel faster than the speed of light, and they do visit our planet, I have a feeling our planet is like basically the galactic version of People of Walmart. Do you understand? You know what I mean? You've seen that, right? Where, the lady goes in there with the tube top and one tit's hanging out down to her knee, or the guy's in there with the stiletto heels in pink with the fish swimming around in them, and like one giant dreadlock that's a turd, and he's a white guy, by the way, because black guys with those dreadlocks actually look pretty cool, especially when they do that tied up thing, and it kind of, like Bishop does from the X-Men. It looks good. It's cool looking. Till a white guy does it, and then I gotta be honest, it's, yeesh. I'm not about cultural appropriation stuff. I think it's, I don't believe in that. You dress how you want to dress, as long as you don't do blackface. That one's a little too far. But the chick wearing a Chinese dress to her thing, and people said it was cultural appropriation. No, it's not. It's just flattering. People mostly enjoy that. There's only a handful of usually lonely white people that actually get upset about that stuff. But anyway, so yeah, we're basically the galactic People of Walmart. They come here and they look at our planet and they're like, hey, anyone else notice this dark spot over here? Yeah, that's North Korea, Zembo. That's the naming convention of these aliens, Zembo. Does the rest of the planet know about this? Yeah, they do. Nobody seems to care that they're all oppressed and don't have electricity and all that stuff. Huh, weird. So, and what about this one over here? Oh yeah, that one, that's been not like that for thousands of years. We don't, they're not allowed to talk about that one anymore. They actually, it didn't go well. And what about this big one over here with all the open space? Yeah, they call that America. And, don't get us started. They used to be pretty cool, and now I don't know, they've got like skinny jeans, and they had this really great thing called slap bracelets for a while. Those were pretty neat, and troll dolls. But now it's all skinny jeans, and the men put their hair in a bun, and it's not nearly as flattering as when the women did it 60 years ago. But yeah, we don't. So yeah, I think we're just People of Walmart. That's just where I'm going to go with that. So anyway, I watched listened to a bunch of stuff. I'll go with the podcast thing first. So I mentioned that I listened to the Wolverine podcast that Marvel does, which is fully voice acted and blah, 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 and it's just like an old radio drama. Well, little did I know when I was talking to Renville about it, and he was like, oh, yeah, and I looked it up. There's an Old Man series, like Old Man Logan. There's a whole series of those coming out, one of which just wrapped up, and I listened to all 10 of them, called Oldman Starlord. And so something happened to the Guardians. It's just Star-Lord and Rocket coming back to Earth. They're old, obviously. And, they find out that Doom has taken North America and that the villains won and the uprising. It's the whole premise of the Old Man kind of universe. And so I listened to that. It is really good. It takes Peter Quill. Like, it's one of the funny things with Star-Lord. Everyone's gotten so used to... what's his face from Jurassic Park? I love the guy too. Chris Pratt being Star-Lord, that when anybody else is more of a comic book version of Star-Lord, like kind of like the Peter Quill in the Guardians of the Galaxy Marvel game coming out here in like a month, they rebel against it because it doesn't look like the MCU. And it's kind of a problem I think Marvel is having to deal with. I know they dealt with it with that Marvel's Avengers that Square Enix did, but that was because that game was garbage, and everybody should have rebelled against that. It just looked creepy. They don't need to look like the characters from MCU. They just need to not look like weird, uncanny valley creepers. So this Star-Lord it took a little bit to get used to, because he's like, he's definitely a child of the 80s. He's like, come on, man, and all that stuff. And he's a little out there and carefree to the point of almost being stupid at times. But it was really enjoyable. Let's see. Ooh, I forgot to... Old Man Starlord, Marvel's Wastelanders series is what they call it. But it had a really good cast. And it's written by the same guy that did the Wolverine, The Long Night, and Wolverine, The Lost Trail. So it's got Timothy Busfield, if you know who that is. I don't know many of these people. But the one that was really surprising, let's see here, was and the guy Patrick Page that did Kraven the Hunter was fantastic. Danny Glover is Red Crotter. He doesn't sound like, because he's a young dude, you know. He doesn't sound like a wait, it's Danny Glover. No, so it is Danny Donald. Yeah, Danny. Okay, so Donald is his dad, right? Okay. I keep getting him confused. If you're going to name your kid, don't use the same, and he's going to be famous, don't start with the same first letter. Just a good note to future Glover family. Don't name, like, Danny Glover. Don't name your kid, like, Daphne Glover. I mean, for obvious reasons. But no, they had Vanessa Williams as Emma Frost, which was really cool. But the whole cast was really, really great. They did a fantastic job. The story has a lot of twists and turns. I mean, obviously it has... I would say I spoiled the fact that Emma Frost is in it, except for after the first episode, they go through the cast listing, even though she's not in the first episode, and they're like, Vanessa Williams is Emma Frost. So-and-so is Dr. Doom. And it's like, he wasn't even in this episode, and Dr. Doom doesn't show up till like the 5th or 6th episode, or his voice isn't even heard until the 5th or 6th episode. And it's like, you kind of got, it would have been a lot cooler if I had heard Emma Frost the first time and been like, well, who's this? And not already heard the casting call. So it's a free podcast, man. Just look up Marvel's Wastelanders or Oldman Starlord on same, whatever you're listening to this on, if you're listening on podcast. It was great. Moving on, more Marvel. This is actually pretty Marvel heavy. What if the Doctor Strange and zombie episodes? The Doctor Strange one was neat. It was definitely their darkest, ironically, even more dark than the zombie ones yet. But it definitely dealt with the inevitability of time travel and things like that. I liked it, but it wasn't their best. I actually think I liked this one, the Doctor Strange, the least. It had its moments, and has Wong in it, which Wong is awesome. He's also in Shang Chi. You saw him in the trailers. Wong's just always awesome. I don't know what it is about that character. I just love when Wong is around. I love Wong. I'm not afraid to admit it openly and out loud. Also, the Marvel Zombie episode, I liked it. It was actually had a couple legitimate, like if you were a younger kid, it might actually get you a little bit here and there. I just liked the premise, of how things shifted, and I like they're doing all of these from the standpoint of happening in the MCU, and they're kind of bringing the concepts from outside the MCU, from the comics into it, but it's all based on the MCU stuff. I mean, the number of the actors from the movies and stuff that they've got coming back to this is pretty, Ruffalo is fully on board. The guy that plays Bucky Barnes, Sebastian Shaw, Stan Shaw, I think. God, I've been over that. It's just really good. I've enjoyed that one. That zombie one was probably one of my favorites, up there with the Star-Lord Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther one. I enjoyed that. I'm really enjoying the series. I love the What If comics. I like that they're tongue-in-cheek and stuff like that. And it really does seem like they're going to continue a few of these stories in later episodes. If not this season, then the next one. I don't see how they don't. And also we went and saw last of the Marvel stuff, promise. Shang Chi. And if you haven't heard by now, it's a good movie. I mean, I've seen some people rag on it, but they're the same people that nothing makes them happy, especially like YouTubers and things like that. And sometimes the main actor can be a little unlikable. Like, this is to all the people, his stock photo, if this is me laughing at all the people that said we would fail. All the people that said you would fail knew you weren't going to fail. You could tell. This is the same company that made a talking raccoon and a talking tree into a $1 billion movie franchise. They have a hard time. Honestly, some of their worst stuff was, like, sadly, the Black Widow, which that's still ongoing. with what they did to Scarlett Johansson. And because of the Shang Chi, they've realized, like, hey, maybe we don't need to put it on a streaming service. Because what was the next one? Eternals is probably going to come off of that, where it was going to be on the Disney Premium Plus, and now it's not. But overall, like, graphically, I loved, like, I won't spoil anything that's not in the trailer. The trailer had the giant Chinese dragon, Chinese dragon, animated fantastically. It looked great. The special effects for the rings felt very powerful, man. It was just hard hitting. I really liked the real Mandalorian, Wenwu, I think, is Shang-Chi's dad. I liked the actor playing that. He felt scary. I've seen some people complain about Aquafina, or whatever her name is, the comedian chick, the sidekick. She has a few over-the-top moments that are a little, like, a little eye-rolly and cringe-worthy. But overall, she's fine. It's not that big a deal. It's like she's not, like, the main focus. The best part of that is that the friendship that her and Shang-Chi had, or Sean as he's known to her, it felt like a friendship. It felt like it'd been in place a really long time. They didn't have to build it up. Like, you know, she finds some stuff out about him, and she's like, you never told me. I've known you for 10 years. How can I trust you again? And she's like, oh, yeah, that's a really good reason not to have told anybody who your horrible terrorist-like father is that murders people for thousands of years. I understand. I get it. It's just like, you know, what would actually happen. Like, if I found my best friend, Barry or Otto, was actually 1,000-year-old martial arts master, I'd be like, well, what if she'd have told me sooner? But, I mean, you're still my buddy. You know, I'd still, if you called me at the dead of the night and said, I've got a problem, bring a shovel, lime, and a tarp, I'd be like, I'm there. I've got you. Just tell me what happened, and we'll take care of the situation. And then I would totally rat them out to the police and get the reward. That's just the kind of friend I am.
This can only end in tears.
It's just the way it is. But yes, overall, Shang-Chi, there was some of the I mean, it happens with all those. Every now and then you get a little wonky on the pacing. But where it shines, obviously, is the combat. It is some of the best combat they've had in a Marvel movie, period, really. Honestly, the only thing that comes close to this, and is just a different style, is the Daredevil series. Like things like the hallway scene and the stairwell scene and stuff like that, where they really, really went at it. And a lot of that is this just has more budget than a TV show is ever going to be able to have. So the fact that Daredevil was able to be on par with this in its own right, because it doesn't have the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon stuff that the Shang-Chi does. It's very fluid. Is very well done. I was very happy. Let's see. I mean, overall, I'm looking up something else that's next. Overall, I mean, I'd give it a solid 8, probably. I mean, it's definitely one of their stronger entries, and it might be one of their best, like, since Iron Man individual character entries. I don't count things like Guardians of the Galaxy because you were introduced to a lot of people in that, so it doesn't. It's different when you're only introducing one actual new superhero and a few other kind of like sideline things. And as always, stay till the end of the fucking credits. Everyone stayed, like, there was, 1 minute into the credits, like, there was a post-credit scene, and people watched it, and then they all stood up and left. The fuck, people. Seriously. Keep your ass in the seat until the end of every Marvel movie, or you're not getting everything you paid for. And honestly, the end of this one was pretty big. There was no reason to have left. It just baffles my mind. Absolutely baffles my mind. Another TV show, Sib and I, that's her name, but Sib and I started watching that we had no idea was even a thing. We saw it on, I think it's Hulu, called Only Murderers in the Building. And it had, the reason we watched it is the cover has Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez is not as big a deal as the first two were for us, but I like her. She's fine. She's a perfectly fine actress. I don't remember what got her start because I didn't watch, I think it was like Nickelodeon or Disney or whatever the fuck Selena Gomez came from. Whatever show. My daughter watched it. I do remember that. But having Steve Martin and Martin Short in it was just awesome. Yeah, I just absolutely love. We gave it a shot for one episode and we're like, this is actually pretty good because they have nothing in common, these people. They live in New York. One's a failed, like, 80s movie actor now from a Columbo-like show. Another one's a failed movie or director. And then there's Selena Gomez, who, I don't know what she did, but she's young. She's the young one that is kind of mean to the other two. But they basically all kind of get into it because they're listening to a podcast called It's Not Okay in Oklahoma, which is like a murder mystery podcast, and they're trying to figure out the whodunit, and then somebody in their building is murdered, and so they start trying to make their own podcast, and while they're trying to solve the murder, and the humor is very dry and very sarcastic, and I absolutely love it. We all do, and it's so. If you grew up, I'm 42-ish, you know? So if you grew up watching, like, the Three Amigos and, you know, Martin Short and Steve Martin back in the 80s and 90s, it's just awesome. It's just so good to see those guys doing stuff again and together, and it just works. I'm not going to spoil anything. I mean, it's a murder mystery. And on top of that, it's a really good one. Like, they openly use all the tropes and things of these murder mystery podcasts and whatnot. Like, there's absolutely nothing. It kind of breaks the fourth wall in its own way, just because it's like when those zombie movies take place and they're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? I think they're dead, but they're still alive. That's impossible. I've never seen anything like that. Really? You live in Chicago. Have you never watched Night of the Living Dead? How the fuck do you go through your whole life and zombies pop up and you've never even heard of zombies before? Well, they're reanimated corpses and done through a virus, and it infects the brain, and that's the only spot that you could kill them. Well, I better not follow that rule. Let me shoot them in the chest several times first, even though their jaw is dripping off of down to their chest. Pop, pop, nothing's killing them. One lucky shot in the head. Oh, the head does it. Listen, we need to kill him in the head. Seriously, it drives me crazy with zombie things. That's why I like the zombie Fallout thing. Guy was a huge zombie fan in the book, so he knew what to do when zombies appeared. But yeah, so Only Murderers in the Building. Highly recommend it. I really do. I've dug it. If you don't like murder mysteries, probably not going to be your jam. But honestly, even if you're not like Steve Martin and Martin Short, it's the most confusing duo of names forever, by the way. Probably won't be your thing, but, well, no, it will be, because they're still endearing. They're just awesome. Also, I gave Star Trek Lower Decks a look. Kind of dig it. I gotta be honest with you. It's kind of more Star Trek-y than Discovery was, but with, like, Rick and Morty-style humor thrown in there, but with, like, an ass ton of sci-fi references that totally work. They mention, one of my favorite lines was the end of one episode of Q shows up, which is voiced by the guy that played Q, and it's like, we don't have time for your Q bullshit. I'm going to bed. It's just like they just walk by him. It's fantastic. I loved it. But they mention Picard and they go do some deep cut mentions throughout the series of, like, from all the way from Archer to Trip, from Enterprise to just Kirk and just everything. I mean, they mentioned some of the aliens that are so obscure, and I still remember them. I don't remember them off the top of my head now, but when they said, I'm like, oh my god, I know what that is. I need to get out more. So, all right, so moving on from reviews. Sorry, I know it was a lot, but I missed a week, so review bombed. Now, this doesn't really have anything to do with video games or movies or stuff like that, but I do love McDonald's, so I don't know if anyone else heard about this, and I felt like the need to do it. But you know how McDonald's ice cream machine, it being down, is always like a meme joke at this point? Turns out, The Federal Trade Commission of the government is looking into it. Yeah. Those machines also count. The ice cream counts for 60% of the U.S. dessert sales at McDonald's. So I have here, owners of McDonald's outlets have long complained the devices are overly complicated and their breakdowns hard to fix. The machines require a nightly automated heat cleaning cycle that lasts up to 4 hours to destroy bacteria. Not a bad thing, but it's a little excessive for 4 hours. The cleaning cycle can fail, which is the problem, making the machines unusable until a repair technician can get to them going again, owners say. So it turns out the company that designed these intentionally designed them to fail. The machines made by Taylor Commercial Food Services LLC and must be repaired by them or an authorized repair company. So another company, the reason this came up was another company called Kitch Inc. Kytch, Kitch. What a dumb name. Change it. Created a device that would alert McDonald's employees if the machine was broken. The device would be mounted on the ice cream machine and display warnings in plain English. And the Taylor machines, by contrast, display confusing error codes that needed to be looked up in a manual. So this other company created something that would make it easier and so that you could get these things cleaned. And then the company that made them filed against them. And that is when Kitch noticed that these things seemed to be designed to fail on purpose. This is a case of corporate espionage and the extreme steps one manufacturer has taken to conceal and protect a multi-million-dollar repair racket, Kitch attorneys wrote in the lawsuit. So, actually, I take it back. It was Kitch that went to sue Taylor because they found out this code and stuff in it that it was designed. Taylor denied the accusations and claimed the court filing. This is a case of a hacker, Kitch, incredibly accusing the hacked Taylor of theft. So it's enough that the FTC is looking into it. By everything I understand of these things and every other article I read, they've designed those ice cream machines to fail. They're legitimately like a racket. Like, hey, you want your ice cream? You got to pay me to fix it. It'd be a shame if you didn't pay me and an accident happened to your ice cream machine. If you know what I'm saying. If you use someone else, I'm going to stab you in the face with a soldering iron. Yeah, it's going to hurt. The entire time I'm doing it. So I love McDonald's, and the fact that that's a meme, and it turns out it's actually corporate sabotage. I don't know. I found that interesting. So the other thing, too, apparently Disney has rebooted Doogie Howser, MD. If you don't remember that, it's Neil Patrick Harris when he was a kid. He was a super smart kid, and he was a doctor at like the age of 12, which very unrealistic, sure. But it was the height of late 80s, early 90s television. I mean, it went on for like 5-6 seasons. I don't remember, but I watched it with my parents. We loved it. So apparently they've done that as Doogie. It's Hawaiian. So to all my pineapple spam eaters, I apologize. Doogie Kamealahoa. Kamealahoa. Okay, so it's Doogie Kamehameha MD, which is a reimagining of the old show, but set with a female lead in Hawaii. Oh my gosh. Now, apparently this is supposed to upset people. The fact that they're redoing Doogie Howser, period, that's the upsetting part. Now that they made her a female in Hawaii, who cares? That part's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I actually don't even have a problem that the girl they got to do it is actually not native Hawaiian. She's half Asian, apparently. She's, which is, everyone always call it the AAPI, Asian American and Pacific Islander. Like, they're always bunched into the same thing, right? So that's, like, it's supposed to all be good. But apparently, to some people, woke, lonely white people, and like, I don't have a problem with the white stuff, but I have noticed that a lot of the people that complain about things are white, especially when it gets to the point of news coverage. So anyway, the title character, Lahia, Doogie, is portrayed by an actress named Peyton Elizabeth Lee, who is Chinese on her father's side and Irish and Italian on her mother's side. That has got to be an interesting Thanksgiving. So, hey, yeah, pass the Mugu Guy Pan. Okay, over there, right now. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm doing the, why is it okay? I can't do the Chinese accent because it's racist, but I can do the Italian one or the Irish. I tell you what, do the Irish one. That's fine there too. But as soon as you do a Chinese one, I don't know. It just goes off the rails, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. She's half Native Hawaiian, half Irish. And there's lots of Asians and stuff in Hawaii, and a lot of them are now Native Hawaiians. That's why they're there, is because they came from Asia. So apparently people were upset that they couldn't get a Native Hawaiian to play the character, but she's still half Asian. So, like, I don't. So another critic wrote, or actually, they actually added the huh. It just says, I think I'm going to rant about Disney casting a non-Indigenous actor and an Indigenous character because I have time tonight. I'm very peeved. I don't know if that one was actually sarcastic or that's literally the thought process of people that fight against this stuff. Like, it's a crappy, straight-to-Disney Plus show. It's a remake of one that was already successful once and kind of past its prime, to be honest, at this point. And yet someone's still going to complain about it. So, you know what? I'm done talking about it. I'm done. The whole reason people get into acting is so that they can pretend to be other people. You don't have to be an actual, like, whatever the character is. You don't have to be a space lizard from the planet Venus to actually play the space lizard from the planet Venus. You could be a human being. You don't have to be something to pretend that you're something else. That's what acting is. Like, I don't see people bitching at Hamilton because none of those guys are actually founding fathers. Or that they're, black in it. Why? Because they're not. Doesn't matter. It's okay. Let them do what they want. But the fact that it's on the creative side of something, and it's Doogie Howser, of all things to get upset about. A show you're probably not even going to watch. I saw it pop up on there. I'm like, oh, that's that show I read that article on. I'm not going to watch it. It looks like it's made for kids. Like that mermaid show my daughter used to watch. I don't know. There was one in Australia, I think. There was mermaids in it. And they were on land. They were landmaids. Landmaid's Tale, I think is what it was called. It's just weird. I don't know. People are just fucking stupid. Moving on to other movies things. And the Jackass crew apparently have racked up $24 million in injuries over their career. To be honest, I think they're lowballing it. And I love people like, this wouldn't happen if they had universal health care like Canada or Europe. Yeah, actually, it would have cost the exact same thing. It just would have been the government that paid for that from the taxes that were gathered instead of, like, I don't know, the multi-billion-dollar movie studio that fronted the bill, which probably in these cases, since they were doing it for their show, is exactly how it should be. I don't want government-funded healthcare paying for the Jackass guys. Now, if little uninsured Timmy breaks his arm, yes, somebody, I don't want the family going into debt for the rest of their lives. I get that. The healthcare system, we're globally, honestly, is just fucking garbage. I can tear apart the American one as well as the Canadian one and the European one. The Cuban one, looking at you, Michael Moore, you fat fuck. You notice he doesn't actually go down to Cuba to get any of his health stuff. Yeah, you'll notice that. But no healthcare system is perfect. They're all pretty garbage and have absolutely, there's a fly in here, have absolutely nothing to do with real healthcare at this point. They're just, even the ones from the government that government run are out to make money. And they've got their own issues, like, denying life-saving medicines and stuff like that because it's too expensive. And you've lived your life. It worked real well in the Third Reich. Just going to put that out there. So, anyway, $24 million. Man, those guys. And I think Jackass Forever got pushed back to next year, by the way. I've read that article, but things are getting pushed back. So, Maverick got pushed back, which also had a weird side effect. There was supposed to be a DLC free for Microsoft Flight Simulator 10 that would add the jets into the game. And I think this might be the first instance of a video game being postponed because the movie got postponed. Usually, the video game is rushed out because the movie is coming out or got moved up, and then they rush the video game out. Like this is moved out till next year, like 8 months from now. So, and it was supposed to come out in a month. So this DLC to add all these jets and stuff are done. Are they just going to, the developer just going to throw it on the back burner and be like, well, just hold on to it until the promotional thing comes around and then we'll release it? What a weird world we live in where a movie is postponed and then that postpones a game. What a weird world. Speaking of weird things, China. I wish I had a Trump China thing, but I don't. So I'll just have to do it. China. Does that sound right? China. So going to the people that we're supposed to trust on their word on the COVID pandemic that they definitely did not create in a lab and you couldn't say on Facebook and stuff like that. But now, for some reason, as evidence has come out a year and a half later, you can actually say on Facebook and stuff because it turns out maybe it was created in a lab and you couldn't trust the Communist Party of China. Winnie the Pooh apparently is not all he's cracked up to be. And if you can't trust the communists, who can you trust? That's what I want to know. So apparently they've passed a law beginning September 1st. This is the 12th, so I'm curious. I have to see if I can find an article on how this is actually working. But so that video game companies like NetEase and Tencent are required. Notice it's not the government that's required to do it. It's the video game companies. Not to get political, but it's kind of like saying a sitting president telling companies with employees over $100 that they need to tell people that if they don't get vaccinated, they'll lose their job because we can't mandate it, so we're going to tell you to mandate it. It's almost like the two governments have a similar style of governing. Authoritarianism. Yeah, it's a little weird. I don't like that either. And trust me, I'm actually going to go. I've not gotten my vaccine. I'm going to go probably this Wednesday. I finally found a place that will give me the single Johnson & Johnson thing. Why? I've weighed the options. I've got a good chance of getting COVID. I have a good chance of having I have a horrible chance of getting COVID, and I have a horrible chance of having complications from a vaccine. Also, I want the microchip. It looks like really cool technology. I've seen the conspiracy theories that they're putting nanobots in you when you get the thing. And frankly, I want nanobots. This is what I require in my life, in my bloodstream, is I want my nanobots. It's not fair that all you vaccinated people are hogging all the nanobots. It's a legitimate thing. I've seen someone does. It was, and they were like, you could see on the end here under a microscope. And I'm pretty sure what it was like the cotton fibers that got stuck on the tip of the thing. Like, pretty sure that's just cotton fibers. They for some reason, some places they'll poke through the cotton swab, which seems like a bad idea, but I don't know. Anyway, so NetEase and Tencent are required to limit online gaming to just 3 hours per week for minors. So ages 18 and under. Under 18. So it'd be 17 and under. So children under the age of 18. That's always such a weird way to put that. It always makes me think that the 18-year-olds are included in that, but technically it's actually 17 and under. And I almost spilled my coffee all over me. It's all right. It's room temperature now, so it'd probably be better. Ages of 18 under 18 will be allowed to game for 1 hour between 8 and 9 p.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, and as well as public holidays, which I assume will be the same 8 to 9 p.m. Additionally, companies are required to restrict online gaming during these hours and must enforce a real name verification system. This is not going to help. This is they're coming at this. What was it they said? That they described online gaming as spiritual opium. The other thing I wonder. Okay, so yeah, it does say here, online gaming. So that means that they're still going to be able to play the games. They just can't do them online. Like if they're playing, like I am, which I didn't even mention. I'm playing Plague Tales of Arise, which is I'm fucking loving that game right now, by the way. So they can play that because it's a single-player game. Or they could play Call of Duty, maybe couch co-op with their friends, but they can't do it online. That's not the cure. For one, gaming isn't spiritual opium. Although I will say that the Chinese do have a huge problem with gaming. Times, they're the country that has people like dying in the cafes and things like that at times. So there are, and those are adults, though. These aren't the kids. But it's, I feel bad for the kids of all these things because they're just stuck in somebody just trying to get more authority. They say, yeah, I mean, it's mostly, I have a feeling this will affect a lot of those online games and things like that, but for those people that are chasing that Chinese money and you're like totally okay with the companies, I don't mean like you as an individual listening to this podcast, because if you're listening to this podcast and you're a multimillionaire, call me. I'd be happy to work for a price. It's a little on the weird side. And let's see, actually, I'll just do these in this order. Because then there's another one in South Korea. Although this one, because I love that this was done on the 31st of August. So in the IGN article, South Korea passes law with potential big implications for Epic Games versus Apple. Dun, dun, dun! So South Korea, North Korea is not passing gaming laws. They don't have a problem with the gaming because there's no electricity. Yeah, not a lot of gamers in North Korea. Probably Kim Jong the diet of the uns, would. If he's still alive, which I still don't think we've ever had verification of. So South Korea's National Assembly passed a bill today challenging Apple and Google's current App Store policies by implications potentially impacting both companies on a global scale. So the new piece of legislation prevents platforms like Apple and Google from banning app developers from using built-in payment systems, meaning app developers have the freedom to use their own payment systems. If they fail to comply, they'll have a 3% of mobile app store owners' revenue in the country. That's what they'll have to 3%. They'll have to give the government 3% of what they do if they don't comply, which Apple and Google would totally just pay 3%. This is actually genius because basically this is just South Korea saying, we don't think Epic is going to win the lawsuit, and you're going to take 30% of people's in-game app sales, and we want 3% of that, which is going to be millions of dollars. So it was really good. It's something that has no teeth. It's something that the company will more than happily pay off to the government of South Korea. Oh, yeah. Except for the part where Epic Games actually won that part, and the judge declared, and this came out on the 10th, 10 days later, that Apple actually has to let developers direct users to buy payment options outside of the Apple ecosystem. They won, actually, surprisingly. Epic Games actually won this lawsuit versus Apple. in that part. They lost the part, apparently, where they were trying to prove that Apple was a monopoly and have it all broken up. That had no chance of happening. If that's going to happen, that's going to be the federal government that goes after them for that. The same thing they would do with Google and then Microsoft and things like that. Those companies are... they're competition against each other in a lot of ways. They do work together sometimes, but they are still competition, which is, if you're a monopoly, you don't really have any competition. That's why the game Monopoly is what it is. When you own everything and you've bankrupted everyone, you have a monopoly, and you've won. That's the point, you know? Sorry, I have to readjust my old man legs. So, so the digital mobile gaming transactions, they can now Fortnite can just take you over to Epic's store and you can buy your Fortnite bucks there, and Apple gets absolutely nothing out of that. So, probably should have lowered it because that's going to be quite a bit. But I will say that they did Apple's countersue for breach of contract, and the judge did rule in favor of Apple on this one, and the court ordered Epic to pay out 30% of the $12.1 million in revenue Epic collected from the users of Fortnite app on the iOS direct payment between August and October, because they had a contract and they breached that contract. So they do have to pay $3.6 million, the 30% of that. And that's fair. Honestly, this judge seemed like he was not a moron, and actually understood tech, which is surprising. This article even mentions the South Korea thing. Let's see here. So Epic and Apple each issued statements responding to the Here's Apple's response to this. Today, the court has affirmed. Let's see. Since it's Apple, I'm going to go with British. Today, the court has affirmed that we've known all along the App Store is... Wait. Ruling Apple's... Oh, this is Apple and Epic. Apple's is as follows, shared by business... Okay. So this is supposed to be, but it sounds pretty positive. Rule of the App Store is not a violation... Okay. The App Store is not a violation of antitrust law. As the court recognized, success is not illegal. Apple faces rigorous competition in every segment in which we do business, and we believe customers and developers choose us because our products and services are the best in the world. Sorry. Got bullshit stuck in my throat. We remain committed to ensuring the App Store is a safe and trusted marketplace that supports a thriving developer community and more than 2.1 million U.S. jobs, and where the rules apply equally to everyone. And then Tim Sweeney from Epic Games responded, since they're the underdog, I don't think it's only fair. Today's ruling isn't a win for developers or the consumers. Epic is fighting for fair competition among in-app payment methods and app stores for billion consumers. Fortnite will return to the iOS App Store when and where Epic can offer in-app payments and fair competition with Apple in-app payment, passing along those savings to you, the consumer. Thanks to everyone who put so much time and effort into battling over fair competition in digital platforms, and thanks especially to the court for managing a very complex case in a speedy timeline. We will fight on. I don't know, that just seemed like appropriate for it. So, yeah, it's good. They win some, you lose some, and honestly, I think that was about as good as they were going to get. Moving on briefly, Starfield is, in fact, only releasing on the Xbox and your PC. It will not come to PlayStation 5. The end. If there was any confusion about that, stop it. People were still like, well, maybe it's just a timed exclusive. Xbox didn't go through an entire generation of PlayStation owners making fun of them for not having exclusives, only to then get exclusives and being like, well, it seems fair that we would give them to the other guys. No, that's not how it's going to go. Aaron Greenberg said, we have tried to be as clear as possible. Not a timed exclusive. This is simply where the game is being made. Xbox. And I have no problem. I want to get a PlayStation. And after I go over the stuff that happened in the PlayStation Showcase, you'll understand. I actually like PlayStation. I know I bash on them a lot lately because they're making really stupid fucking decisions this generation so far. For example, where'd I put it? Oh, there it is. Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, had I done this episode last week, like I was supposed to, I would have been reporting on how Horizon Forbidden West was going to not have an upgrade feature. So if you bought it on the PlayStation 4 because you can't get a PlayStation 5, and then you got a PlayStation 5, you'd get to buy the game again for $70 because that's a really good idea, and you get to double dip into your player base, whereas Xbox is giving people free upgrades. If you buy it on one, you get the basically digital upgrade of it for free, especially their first-party stuff, which this Horizon is, to go onto the Xbox Series X, which is a very consumer-friendly way of doing that. But then I would have had to come on this episode and been like, and they changed their mind. So apparently they're still not doing it free, from what I understand. So if you buy it on PlayStation 4 for $60, and then you get a PlayStation 5 for Horizon Forbidden West, you'll have to pay the $10 digital upgrade fee to actually get it upgraded. Now, this is a difference between the $60 and $70 game. So they get the extra $10, but still, I gotta be honest, it's not a good look. Xbox does it for free. That's your competition, and they're doing it for some pretty big games, you know. I don't know. I don't know the people at Sony are like schizophrenic. They have no idea what's going on, and that I mean, I'm not a console war guy. I've got all the consoles currently except for the PlayStation 5, and that's not because I don't want one. It's because I can't get one. There's a difference. I would absolutely have a PS5 if I was able to go to Walmart. Okay, well, not right now because there's really not anything I'd play on it just yet other than Spider-Man. But with the games coming out, like the first big game that comes out, like God of War, which probably won't be till 2023, and for the example, this is coming out in February 2022, Horizon Forbidden West. I totally go get one right now. And well, not right now, but like towards the end of the year or in January, February, and then I'd finish playing through the first one, which I never finished, although I absolutely loved. But I don't know what they're doing. I'm not a big console war guy, but if there is a competition, it may not be a war. I hate that word of console wars, but it is a console competition. You know, they're competing for the similar player base in a lot of ways, and I don't think they're doing too good this time around. Because the extra $10 upgrade fee, I mean, especially like Xbox is even doing it for some of the third-party stuff. So, I don't know. It's just not a good look. Oh, shoot. I copied the wrong thing in there. I was going to go over the PS4 showcase, but brain fart. Give me a sec. I got to find where. Oh, and there's something else I wanted to mention. The trailer for Marvel's Midnight Suns. Marvel's really doing cool stuff. I love the trailer. It was a great take on Sandman. Seeing the combat in that looks really cool. Like I'm not a XCOM. It's the guys that did XCOM. I'm not an XCOM person. Or a card game person. But it looks really cool. I dug the music. I actually watched the whole gameplay trailer breakdown thing, and it looked neat. So I'm totally on board. I don't know much about the Midnight Suns. I love the look of the characters and the characters they got in it. The fact that it's got Magic in it, who is Colossus' sister. That's awesome. I just dig on it. Okay, I've got this here now. So moving on. Let's see. Anyway, I'm all over the place. I apologize. Yeah, really looking forward to that. And that's that. Marvel's Midnight Suns. So the PlayStation Showcase 2021. So that we got the big one, obviously, is God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2, which showed Venom in it. the Ragnarok looks awesome. Apparently, this is going to tell the story. I saw some people. I don't know why there's. I don't know. I guess with the little girl at the end of the Ragnarok trailer, she was black, and I guess she's. I don't know if like Norse mythology. I don't remember who that was supposed to be. Oh, I guess Freya was already in it, and that's the chick. So I don't know. I didn't look enough into it. I also didn't care enough about the controversy that some people were freaking out that the Norse chick was black, or that Thor was basically a big fat gluttony looking guy, which is actually more accurate to the mythology. But let's also not look beyond the behind the fact that Kratos is the god of war, and he's from Greek mythology, although Kratos actually isn't from Greek mythology. He's just a made-up character that became the god of war and killed I just blanked on him. Wow, I totally forgot who the actual god of war he killed was in the actual. I'm gonna feel so stupid. Greek god of war. Ares. Was it Ares? No, it's not Greek. Yeah, Ares is the Greek god of war. Mars. Okay. Ares and Mars. I don't know why I couldn't remember them. So I forget which one it was originally. Anyway, yeah, moving on. But yeah, he killed them. Kratos doesn't actually exist. He's not an actual god of war. He was created for a video game. So let's not forget that you got Greek stuff going into your Norse mythology before everyone freaks out. It's going to be all right. It's still going to be voiced by Michael Judge, Teal'c from Stargate SG-1, who sounds fucking awesome. I love the guy. I've met him. I told you that. And he's great. He's great. I just love hearing his voice. It looks awesome. I really can't wait. I don't know what anyone would expect otherwise. I still don't think this is coming out until, it's 2018. If it comes out next year, I'll be shocked. I'm thinking 2023. Yeah. With the pandemic and still ongoing stuff with that, I don't see how they're making a game like this for the next gen consoles. Although I think it's supposed to come out on PS4 as well, which kind of sucks. I'd much rather see stuff made specifically for a next gen console. But yeah, it just looks awesome. That's just all there is to it. Marvel Spider-Man 2 announced with a tease of Venom at the end. I also liked that they had Miles Morales in it, that would be the only reason I'd want to get a PS5 right now is to play Miles Morales. I know I can play it on the PS4, but why would I want to play the inferior version of that? I'm going to go through these kind of quick, by the way. And the Spider-Man 2 will be 2023. Yeah, maybe I guess Ragnarok will come out 2022. Unless something gets, they're not going to release that game broken or anyway. The one that was a real big surprise is the Knights of the Old Republic remake announced for the PlayStation 5. Now, as it has come out since then, it is a timed exclusive. It'll launch exclusive to the console, which is another reason I would want to get a PlayStation 5 so I can play this right away. I am not a patient man. I also don't know if I'd want to play this on my PC. Because I need to get a new graphics card, an updated graphics card. I'd love to get a 3000, but that doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. So the remake's being done by a company that I don't have on here at the moment. It doesn't really matter because most people don't know what the companies are. I mean, it's Knights of the Old Republic. Remake it. The game is from 2003. It arrived on Xbox. It's old. It's almost 20 years old. By the time this comes out, it probably will be 20 years old. It's one of the best RPGs ever made, but it does not hold up to the test of time. Frankly, it controls like dog shit these days. The story is still fantastic, but the voice acting and stuff like that does not hold up any better than the Resident Evil stuff holds up these days. From the original RE and the voice acting in that. It's just not good. It's an amazing story, and for its time, it was cutting edge. These days, though, not so much. Marvel also announced Wolverine for the PlayStation 5, developed by Insomniac Games. And the reason this is going to be awesome is because Insomniac Games are the ones that do Spider-Man and the Ratchet and Clank. And they're also doing Spider-Man 2. I don't know. It's being done by the Miles Morales people, Brian Horton and Cameron Christian. And it says here their goal, Insomniac's goal is to not only respect the DNA of what makes the character so popular, but also look for opportunities to make it feel fresh and truly reflect the Insomniac spirit. Given what they've done with Spider-Man, there's no way this is going to be bad. I just don't see it. I hope it'd be awesome if it's an open world game too, but even if it's a single player game of theirs, or in the style of like how they do Ratchet and Clank with levels and whatnot, fine with it. It's going to be good. It's just the trailer is cool. It's no gameplay or anything like that. It's just a busted ass bar with Logan sitting at the bar, and someone gets up and is about to stick him, and his claws come out of his knuckles. That's the end of it, and it looks great. I saw a lot of people really excited for this thing called Project Eve, which looks gorgeous, and it's a hack and slash. It's got the jiggly butt and boob physics and everything that you would expect, like the stereotypical gamer to love. I thought the combat looked like dog shit, and it did not look like a lot of fun. Just not. I don't mind hack and slash action stuff. It just didn't look great to me. I didn't see what people were clamoring about with this. Visually, it's great, but I mean, everything's moving to next gen, so that's a lot getting easier and easier, and especially with Unreal 5 out there and in the wild. Things are gonna look great, but they're still going to be dog shit if you don't know what you're doing. You can get models and things like that and make stuff look great, but if you don't know how to make gameplay mechanics or story, it's not going to play well. And that's kind of what this one looks like to me. I could be wrong. I also was disappointed that it wasn't a Parasite Eve sequel. So I saw Project Eve, and I was like, oh, could it be finally Parasite? No, it's just space boobies, which I'm fine with. Space boobies are great, and who doesn't love them? But this is probably not going to be my cup of tea. And I like hack and slash. Like I was saying, I'm playing Tales of Arise, which is an RPG, but it's very hack and slashy mechanics and stuff, and I love it. I'm totally digging it. I'll kill the same stupid, which, by the way, the names of the beasts in that, I forget what they were now. It's so stupid. I just try to forget it. It's a very, it's a mouthful of Arise. Beast names. Let's see. What was it? It's just some weird, stupid, made-up word that drives me crazy. Blah blah blah. The story is great. The slave class, they go way heavy on the slave stuff, to the point where it's like, okay, we get it. Slavery bad. I understand. I get it. And I'm only I say only. I'm like 6 hours into it. Antagonists. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's a dumb dog shit name, but it's really good. So I love those hack and slash things. Tiny Tina's Wonderland's gameplay and release date revealed. So Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is a Borderlands like spinoff. Coming out the 25th of March 2022. I mean, it's like, apparently it's got old school JRPG stuff. If you don't know Tiny,
Don't nobody understand the words that are coming out of your mouth, man.
Need to slow down sometimes. Borderlands is a crazy ass thing. It's gonna break the fourth wall all the time, and it's gonna be really funny. I don't know if I'm not a huge Borderlands fan. Sib and I have tried to play them a couple times, and we enjoy them, but we fall off of it pretty quick. We're still playing through Gears of War. We actually played a whole level of that recently, and that was as epic and fun as always. So let's see. Forspoken trailer shows off dragons, magic, and story. I actually dug this one. This is another reason I would want to get one. Spring of 2022. It's a main character's named Frey. She's from the real world. She's like, I don't know, New York or some bullshit like that. And a portal opens up, and she ends up in a world fantasy place called Athea. And she's got the powers. She's got some wristband bracelet that talks to her, and it looks awesome. Very open world, fast travel kind of stuff, speed through the sky on like magical platforms and whatnot. I kind of excited for a game I wasn't really too sure on, because I think it was based off of like their tech demo originally for the PS5. I'm totally looking forward to it. I think it's going to be badass. Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, and Lost Legacy getting remastered for PS5 and PC. I mean, so Uncharted 4 is going to be remastered for PS5 and PC, and I don't know what they'll charge for it. I have no idea. What was the other one that was being remade? Oh, I think... Yeah, okay, it's coming up. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Extraction gameplay trailer shows off more. It's coming out January 2022. If you like Tom Clancy, you know what that is already. Alan Wake Remastered. This one I'm excited for. Holy shit. Comes out, I forgot about that. It comes out the 5th of October. It's like they just announced it, and it comes out in like a month. So if you've never played Alan Wake, this is again by... Remedy, the ones that did Control that I was just talking about endlessly on the show I did 2 weeks ago. It's the same universe as Control. It's a writer, and everything he's written has come true. His wife is lost. You have to shine a flashlight on inky, blobby black beings. Doesn't sound as racist as I just made it come out. And then you shoot them. Okay, this is really not sounding great, but trust me, it's supernatural black beings, not human black beings. Wow, that went downhill fast. So anyway, they're remastered it, and Alan Wake came out 10 years ago, and it seems like in your head that it doesn't need to be remastered until you see the side by side, and you're like, yep, it does need to be remastered. That was a good call. I have a feeling too that this is Remedy's. Like, how you guys always say you're interested in an Alan Wake sequel. Put your money where your mouth is. How interested are you? And the fact that the remaster for this, and I think it's got the DLC with it, is American Nightmare, is $30. Like, so you get the whole game, like a full game experience, remastered and all that for half the price of the other games, which I think is a great way to do that, because they didn't have to completely redo everything. They just upscaled it. They made new models for Alan Wake. Put everything in there. They probably cleaned a little bit up on the mechanical controls, and they're releasing it, and it's fantastic. Sib watched it, and she's like, "Ooh, I want to watch you play through that one." It's a date. I will be good for it. To the surprise of absolutely everyone, and I know this was actually probably the biggest shocker of the show, Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto Online are getting a PlayStation 5 upgrade. But it was delayed till March 2022. But the fact that they're getting a PlayStation upgrade, nobody saw that coming. Everyone saw that coming. Yeah, nobody cares anymore. I actually saw an article where people are just getting tired of seeing GTA 5 talked about at all. Like, they're done. There's a point of limited return, and I think they're hitting it. Gran Turismo 7 is going to come out March 22nd. If you don't know what Gran Turismo is, it's basically the thing that makes it's their version of the Xbox's Forza Horizon. It's a game that shows off everything that console can do is at that time, and just gonna look good. I don't even know what the fuck that is. Some called Tachia. Looks creepy as fuck. New Ghostwire Tokyo trailer looks trippy, but still no release date. Ghostwire Tokyo looks cool, but who knows? Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy gets another sassy teaser, which was really funny. It's coming out the 20th of October. Yeah, I will totally be getting that, but I also think it's coming out on Xbox, so I'll be getting it on that. Deathloop coming out September 14th in 2 days, but I will be waiting to get that on Xbox. So the free-to-play Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt is arriving on PS5 later this year. So cool. That's like an online game. I am looking forward to the Vampire the Masquerade game, but I want the actual game. I don't care about the online bullshit. Maybe you do. Good. And I actually forgot to mention this. I also have a games released this month in video game history, but it's going to be a special SNES only edition because 30 years ago, the SNES launched in North America. 30 years ago. On September 9th, 3 days ago. So 3 days ago was the 30th anniversary of little Ashen Phoenix getting to go over to his friend's house to play his Super Nintendo, because my parents didn't get me one till like a year or a year and a half later. Because my parents hated me. Or, they were just kind of expensive at the time. But, I mean, me and my buddy Jared, we played the shit out of that thing. That's, F-Zero, Star Fox, Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country. We never played Earthbound. Super Mario Kart, played the fuck out of some Super Mario Kart. Like, pissed off, slamming controllers on the ground, angry at each other, Super Mario Kart, with him and his sister Amber. Link to the Past, we played through that. Super Metroid, played through that. Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition, that's the one we got, and we beat the shit out of each other on that one. We actually got into physical altercations. Remember, let's see, what did I say, 1991, I was 12, probably into my 13. So, kids are stupid. But I would play Chun-Li, he would play Ryu, and we would bounce back and forth on who would win. We were equally matched. And it's actually a nostalgia thing. I wished my whole life I could find somebody I was equally matched with in a fighting game, because these days I pretty much just beat the shit out of everybody, of my friends, to the point that nobody plays with me. And then I go online, and it doesn't always end well. Unlike Call of Duty, which I'm still really great at, online I have issues. Of course, it's a lot more complicated these days than it was with Street Fighter 2. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Time, Final Fantasy 3, which was actually Final Fantasy 6. Wait, no, Final Fantasy 4 was actually Final Fantasy 6. And that right there was the game that brought me into my love of Final Fantasy and JRPGs, which I continue to this day as I'm playing Arise. Even though it's not turn-based JRPG, it is. I mean, I'll have to do a review once I've had a little more time with Arise. But if you like anime and you like RPGs, it's the game for you. It is an anime-ass anime game that animated anime. So yeah, SNES, 30 years old. This was like, I had an NES, and I absolutely love it. But I think SNES was not a SNES, by the way. If you pronounce it SNES, you're dead to me. Turn off the podcast, delete your phone, throw that phone in the river, and then take yourself and follow the phone into the river, because you're saying it wrong. It's a dumbass way of saying it. It's the SNES, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Not a SNES. Drives me crazy. It's like people that call it a GIF instead of a GIF. Go fuck yourself. So, yeah, and it was just the height of this is when console wars started with the Genesis. I was a total Nintendo fanboy. I won't lie. I thought the Genesis 3-button controller was dog shit. It was just terrible. It didn't have the 2 buttons on the top and those there. It's garbage. I mean, how do you even play? I actually remember seeing the first time when I first saw the SNES controller, and we're going from the 2 buttons on the NES controller to something that's a little more ergonomical, has 4 buttons on the right-hand side and 2 buttons on top. we could not, for the life of us, understand how a remote control for a console could have that many damn buttons and be functional. Like, how are you going to be able to memorize? I mean, that's just so many buttons to go through. It's just, there's no way the hands of any non-godlike entity or human, just a normal everyday human being, could possibly hold a controller like that and not just slap the wrong buttons all the time. It's not possible. Turns out it was really easy. You got used to it pretty quick because it was a smart design, and it's held up true to this very day. If you'll notice, Xbox and PlayStation controllers have the same 4-button design in that diamond-shaped triangle pattern as they did when it was first introduced, 30 years ago. Technically 31 if you go off the November 1990 Japanese Super Famicom release. So, well, almost. We'll have to get till November. But yeah, it was just it's honestly, it's still probably one of my favorite consoles. It's the reason I had to get the SNES Mini. Did I need it? No, I absolutely did not. But I had to have it because I needed it. Also, now you're old. So, and because of that, I had to go through and just do an SNES version of games that released this month in history. Which is a kind of a short list because I only did September. I mean, it's still 8 long. And I only did them for North America. I could have included and cheated and done like the Japanese and UK versions, and I'd have had a laundry list of stuff, but nobody gives a shit about those countries because I don't live there. Sorry if you do, but...
Behold my stuff.
So first and foremost, the one that was really big, especially for me and my buddy Jared, Super Mario Kart came out on the 1st of September 1992. So we are 29 years out from the very first Super Mario Kart. 29 years. Let that sink in for you, those of you out there that played like I did. And it was fresh and brand new and something never before designed or seen. It was very 3D. The flat pixelated plane that really it was faking 3D on. But it was on a Super Nintendo. And it was amazing. Also, I played Peach. Then came Mortal Kombat, excuse me, a year later on the 13th of September. I don't know why I keep looking like I don't remember what month it is. September. This one was the controversial one, because if you remember back in the day, and if you don't because you're young, first, you suck. Enjoy your knees while they last. And also that little twitch in your shoulder, that's only going to get worse as you get older. It's only going to get more and more stiff. Also, you're going to hurt yourself one day getting out of bed. So between the two versions on Sega and the SNES was the inferior version because they took out the blood. Nintendo is, they did not like that. They had the no blood and they took it out. I think some of it was replaced with green goo, but for the most part, they just took it out. It had no blood. And it was definitely the inferior version because of that. Because that's literally what Mortal Kombat was. It was all about the blood. It was the gore and the violence and blah, 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 blah. But nope. You don't get any of that. You chose the SNES version. I also don't think it ran as well, if I remember right. But I could be wrong. And then one I didn't play, but I knew of, Illusion of Gaia came out on the 1st, 1994. The Gaia games have continued for quite some time. I don't even know how many there are. Actually, let's see here. Gaia sequels. Helps if I spell sequels right. Yeah. So there's Soul Blazer. Yeah, I guess that there weren't a whole lot of them actually. So I take it back. I'm thinking of Secret of Mana. But I did watch a thing on Illusion of Gaia, and it was one I never played, but I was aware of. I saw it in Blockbuster. Let that sink in. And a year after the first release came out Mortal Kombat 2 on the 9th, 1994. This one, blood was back, so it was better. Also, it was just a superior game, had more characters. I mean, if you don't know what Mortal Kombat 2 is at this point, I can't help you. They're beyond help. And another one, and this was the one where I think I started to remember seeing the big difference between the consoles, because this looked better on the SNES than it did on the Genesis. Spider-Man and Venom, Maximum Carnage. September 16th, 1994. Which is funny, because Maximum Carnage is kind of like, that was the big Marvel storyline at the time for all that stuff. And that was before the Spider Clone bullcrap came in. Carnage and Venom were the shit. I think Todd McFarlane was still on at Marvel. McFarlane, Marvel. Let's see here. He was there because by the way, I love Todd McFarlane. He's the creator of Spawn. He did the iconic, he was there when they did the Marvel Spidey suit with Venom in 1992. Oh, yeah. So, no, he left in 92. Yeah, so that was before his time. Or no, he actually was, because this came out. Yeah, he might have actually had a lot to do with that. I know he had a lot to do with Venom. So, moving on anyway. I'm just getting down a nostalgia lane. Mega Man 7 came out on the 1st, 1995 on the SNES. It's Mega Man. I mean, I don't think Mega Man 7 is their best entry, but it's fucking Mega Man. And then Castlevania Dracula X came out on the 1st, 1995 as well, alongside Mega Man X. Not a lot of people remember that, probably. It's a Castlevania game, so it did well, but I don't think it was their best entry. And that was definitely before Symphony of the Night, which I still want to play. And then, lastly, the very last thing that also came out September 2nd. No, actually, it actually doesn't have the date. It came out 2017, Star Fox 2, which was a defunct game that never came out originally on the SNES. It was fully created. They had the whole thing done, and they scrapped it because it played horribly. And having it played on the SNES Mini, which is the only place you could get it, but I think you can get it on the Switch now. But at the time, in 2017, that was it. It was the first time it was released, like almost over 25 years after it was created. But it played horribly because it had open world, like it wasn't on rails, and those little D-pads were not made to control something like that. It was not possible. It is not a good game. It plays like hot garbage. I know because I tried to play it. It was awful. But that came out on the SNES. It's just so funny to me that a game that was completely finished was scrapped. But Nintendo does that stuff. If they're not happy with something, they'll dump it like an ugly guy or girl at a rom-com 80s movie. Just leave them there sitting, drinking out of the punch bowl that's spiked until they do something crazy and get the eye of the cool, hot dude chick. And then things move on and progress from there, and it turns out they have a great personality, and they fall in love and get married and eventually divorced. Don't marry high school sweetheart, by the way. It only ends in tears.
This can only end in tears.
So, anyway, yep, that's it. That's all there is. That's the show. That's all I've got. There's a exiting sound that's supposed to be here. There it is. Can you hear it? Can you hear it now?
I am very disappointed.
Yeah, I know. But you waited 2 weeks for this episode, so that's what you get. All right. Well, I appreciate you for tuning in. Remember, twitch.tv/CrashedWhileLoading. Follow, subscribe, join the Discord. If you've got stories you want to share, feel free, by all means. If you want to listen live, being on the Discord will let you know when I'm going to do the show live so that you can be up to date. I usually don't know until the day of what time I'm going to be doing it, because that is life as like a functioning adult and a grandpa and like a husband and a dog owner. The dog owner part doesn't really have anything to do with it. They pretty much run themselves as long as we feed them once a day. What? Dad? Grandpa? Well, he takes care of himself at this point. He just needs me to provide food. But yes, and as a dad. Sip reminded me that I'm a dad. I do remember that, but I figured the grandpa part would inform you that I am also a father. Because, can you adopt grandchildren? Okay, so I didn't think of that. I guess I could have adopted a grandkid, which is weird. No, because if you don't have a kid, they'd just be your kid if you adopted them. So you have to have a kid to have a grandkid. Even if your kid adopted a kid, that would still make that kid your grandkid, but you had to have a kid to make that your kid. So, everyone clear on this? Good. Sib, if you want to make comments, you have to come on the show. Ericus demands it. Maybe next show. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody for tuning in, because that went the fucking rails right there. Hey, speaking of dogs being annoying. So, that's it. Just twitch.tv/crashwhiloloading. Appreciate you listening. I am Asher Phoenix. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?